Buongiorno. I'm from Sumera, Dermatfia, number 1.
Hello, I'm Lorenzo de los Reyes, Dermatfia number 2. And we are...
Good day, learners! Welcome to another episode of learning here in our Matfia class. I am Frank Angelo Sumera.
And I am Lorenzo de los Reyes, and we are the Matfia mentors for today. Before we get started, please avoid any distractions and focus on our discussion. Learners, are you ready to learn today? If you are, brace yourself and let's get started.
Our topic for today is about the one-to-one function. So, what is a one-to-one function? A one-to-one function is a function for which every element of the range corresponds to exactly one element of the domain. What does it mean? It means that no two elements in the domain of F correspond to the same element in the range of F. In other words, each x in the domain has exactly one correspondent in the range. It can never be the same.
Here are some examples of one-to-one function. As you can see in each values, our domain has its own correspondent in our range. Our domain is in the left side, which is -2, 4, 8, and 13, and the range is in the right side, which is 1, 5, 12, and 18. -2 have 5, 4 has 1, and 8 with 12, and 13 has 18. Notice that no values in the range is repeated, which is why this is a one-to-one function, because the values or elements only corresponds to 1. One-to-one function lamang siya kasi makikita naman natin sa diagram na correspond lamang siya sa iisa.
Let's take a look at these examples and identify which is a one-to-one function and which is not. Which do you think is not a one-to-one function? Is it the left diagram or right diagram? If your answer is the right diagram, then you are right. The right diagram is not a one-to-one function because two elements in the domain corresponds to one element in the range. You can see that 4 and 9 has the same correspondent, which is 6. The 6 has two correspondents. That means that it is not one-to-one anymore. Because two of the elements has the same output, the one-to-one function is the left diagram because it only corresponds to 1. The values in the domain has its own distinct values in the range.
This time, let's have an example of determining one-to-one function using a table. Meron tayong -3, -1, 0, -3, and 4 sa ating x. Sa ating y-axis naman, meron tayong 2, 3, 5, 7, and 9. Take a look at the table. Is it a one-to-one function or not? Now let's proceed. Looking at our table, we can actually say that it is a one-to-one function because no values in the range is repeated, which means that each value has their own distinct correspondent. If the table is like this one, sa x-axis natin meron tayong -5, -2, 0, 3, and 4. Sa y-axis naman meron tayong -3, -1, 1, -3, and 5. Then, you can conclude that it is not a one-to-one function because a value is repeated, which is the -3. Now, let's move on to the real-life representation of one-to-one function. When we say real-life examples, I'm sure a lot of you already have something in mind as you hear the word one-to-one. Some examples of one-to-one function in real life are: example number 1, a student in his report card. Siyempre, one-to-one function lamang ito kasi siya lang naman na nagmamay-ari ng kanya report card. Hindi naman niya kapareho ang report card ng ibang estudyante sapagkat magkaiba sila ng school performance and progress.
Another example is an OFW with her passport. A passport is one-to-one because it can only belongs to one owner, and every passport is different from others. Another one is a funeral and a eulogy. When someone died at a funeral, everyone will have something to tell about the person. They have different eulogy offered. It is one-to-one because it is a one person's eulogy for the person's funeral they're attending to. The last example is a relationship. You need to be loyal to your partner. In that way, it makes the both of you as one-to-one.
Points to remember. A function is one-to-one if no two elements in the domain of f correspond to the same element in the range of f. In other words, each x in the domain has exactly one correspondent value in the range.